After 15 years of marriage, I found out I'd been raising my brother's kid. When I confronted my wife, she broke down. I was feeling lonely. Don't ruin everything we have over one mistake. So I burned their lives to the ground. All right, Reddit. This is the kind of story that sounds like bad fiction, but I promise you it's real, and it happened to me. My lawyer told me to keep my mouth shut about it until everything was finalized. But now that the dust has settled, and both of them are living in their own personal versions of hell, I figured I'd share. Maybe it'll help someone spot the red flags I missed for 15 years. I'm 41 now, work in logistics for a shipping company. Been at the same place since I was 26. Worked my way up from warehouse supervisor to regional coordinator. Nothing glamorous, but the pay's solid, and I own my house outright. Got a nice shop in the backyard where I restore old motorcycles on weekends. My 1973 Honda CB 750 is basically perfect at this point after 3 years of work. The bike was a complete basket case when I bought it off some guy who'd stored it in a barn for 20 years. Seized engine, rusted tank, missing half the electrical system. Spent every weekend for months just getting it torn down and cataloged. The frame alone took 6 weeks to sandblast and powder coat. Then came the engine rebuild, learning to lap valves and set timing by hand. The satisfaction of hearing it fire up for the first time after all that work, running smooth as silk on fresh rings and bearings, made every busted knuckle worth it. Met my wife Katie when we were both 23. She worked reception at a dental office. Had this way of making everyone feel comfortable. Real warm personality. Always remembered people's names and their kids' birthdays. That stuff matters when you're trying to build something stable. We got married at 26, had our daughter Lily when I was 27. Katie stayed home with her for the first few years, then went back to work part-time when Lily started school. We had this nice little routine going. I'd handle the mortgage and bills, she'd manage the household stuff, and her part-time income went into savings. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. My brother Ryan was always the charismatic one. 3 years younger than me, worked in sales for a pharmaceutical company, always had these stories about client dinners and business trips. Drove a leased BMW, wore expensive suits, dated a rotating cast of women who never seemed to stick around longer than a few months. We got along fine, saw each other at family stuff, but we weren't super close. Different personalities, different priorities. Ryan lived about 20 minutes away in one of those trendy loft apartments downtown. The kind of place with exposed brick and industrial lighting that cost twice what my mortgage payment was. He'd have us over sometimes for dinner parties where everyone drank expensive drinks and talked about nothing important. Katie always loved those parties. Said it made her feel sophisticated to be around successful people. I'd mostly just count the hours until I could go home and work on something with my hands. For 15 years, everything seemed normal. We did family dinners twice a month. Ryan would show up for birthdays and holidays. He was the fun uncle who'd bring elaborate gifts and teach Lily card tricks. Katie seemed like the perfect wife and mother. Packed lunches, kept the house spotless, volunteered at Lily's school. I worked my shifts, came home to a hot dinner, spent weekends in my shop or at Lily's softball games. Then 3 months ago, my mom dropped a bomb that changed everything. Mom called me at work on a Tuesday afternoon, which was weird because she never calls during the day. Said she needed to talk to me in person, alone, and it was urgent. Told me to come by after work but don't bring Katie. That last part made my stomach drop. When I got to my parents' house, Dad was sitting at the kitchen table looking about 20 years older than he did at Sunday dinner. Mom had these red, puffy eyes like she'd been crying for hours. "Sit down, honey," Mom said in this shaky voice. I sat. Whatever this was, it was bad. "Your brother came to see us last night," Dad started. "He's been dealing with some health issues and needed to get some genetic testing done. Part of the workup involved comparing his DNA profile against family members to rule out certain hereditary conditions." I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this is about Ryan being sick. Not great, but manageable. Then Mom said the words that made my entire world tilt sideways. The lab flagged an anomaly. They ran additional tests to confirm. Dad slid an envelope across the table. Lily shares significant genetic markers with Ryan. Not uncle-niece markers, father-daughter markers. I remember staring at that envelope like it was a live grenade. My brain just refused to process what they were saying. That's not possible. The lab ran it 3 times, Dad said. His voice was flat, like he'd already cried himself out. There's no mistake. Ryan is Lily's biological father. The room started spinning. 15 years. Our entire marriage. Every birthday, every school play, every softball game. Every time I'd proudly told people, that's my daughter, when Lily did something amazing. Does Ryan know? I managed to ask. Mom nodded, fresh tears streaming down. He found out yesterday. He's the one who told us. He wanted us to know before. She couldn't finish the sentence. Before I found out some other way, I finished for her. We sat there in silence for probably 10 minutes. Then the questions started flooding in. How long did Ryan know? Did Katie know whose kid she was carrying? Did they have an affair, or was it just once? Why didn't anyone tell me? Mom said Ryan swore he didn't know until the test results. Said it was a one-time thing that happened before Katie and I got married, and he thought she'd ended it and chosen me. He assumed Lily was mine, just like everyone else did. But here's the thing that made my blood run cold. The timeline didn't work. Katie and I started dating in January. Lily was born in September, which means she was conceived in December. Ryan's story was that something happened between him and Katie in November, before she and I were officially together. Except I'd known Katie since October. We'd been casually seeing each other, getting coffee, going to movies. Nothing official yet, but definitely heading that direction. If something happened with Ryan in November, it wasn't some innocent mistake before we were together. It was a calculated move while she was deciding between us. She picked me, got pregnant with his kid, never said a word. I sat in my truck in my parents' driveway for an hour after that conversation, just staring at nothing. 15 years of my life built on a lie. Every memory tainted. Every proud moment as Lily's dad now felt like a cosmic joke. Then the cold clarity hit. The kind that comes right before you do something you can't take back. I drove home, walked straight to my office, and pulled out every financial document we had. Bank statements, insurance policies, mortgage papers, Katie's part-time income records, everything. Started taking pictures with my phone and uploading them to a cloud storage account she didn't know about. Katie was in the kitchen making dinner when I walked through. Hey honey, you're late. Everything okay? Yeah, just got caught up at work. I'm gonna work on the bike for a bit before dinner. Went to my shop, locked the door, and started documenting everything. Every text between Katie and Ryan in our phone records that I could access through our shared family plan. Every family photo where Ryan was giving Katie looks I'd been too trusting to notice. Every time she'd volunteered to drive Lily to Ryan's place alone for uncle-niece bonding time. Over the next week, I acted completely normal while quietly gathering evidence. Katie had no idea anything was wrong. I kissed her goodbye every morning, asked about her day every evening, helped Lily with homework, went to work, came home. Perfect routine. But every spare moment I was documenting. I pulled our complete financial history, going back to when we got married. Found something interesting. 3 months before we got married, Katie had received a $15,000 deposit into her personal checking account from Ryan. The memo line said, loan repayment, but I'd never heard about any loan. That first payment happened in March, 2 months before our wedding. At the time, Katie told me her grandmother had left her some money. I never questioned it because why would I? My brother and my fiancé wouldn't be hiding anything from me, right? Wrong. Dug deeper. Found regular payments from Ryan to Katie over the years, usually $200 to $500, sometimes more. Always with vague descriptions like birthday money or helping out. When I added it up, Ryan had transferred over $60,000 to Katie over 15 years. That wasn't uncle generosity. That was hush money. I started cross-referencing the payment dates with family events. Before Lily's first birthday party, Katie got $800. Before our family reunion when Lily was 7, Katie got $500. They had a system. They'd been managing this lie like a business operation. I went through our phone records next. Our family plan gave me access to call logs. Katie and Ryan texted each other an average of 27 times per day. Every single day. For years. Called each other too. Short calls during times when they knew I'd be at work or busy. Started documenting everything with timestamps. Katie called Ryan 43 minutes after Lily fell off her bike and broke her wrist. She texted him before telling me about Lily making the honor roll. She contacted him first for every major parenting milestone, then told me later like I was getting the recap. I was the guy living in the house, paying the bills, showing up every day. But Ryan was the one she turned to first when something important happened with his daughter. I made copies of everything. Bank records, text message logs, phone bills showing hundreds of calls between them over the years. Lily's birth certificate, where I was listed as father. Medical records, school records. Every document that proved I'd acted as her father for 15 years while they both lied to my face. Then I scheduled an appointment with the best divorce lawyer in town. Paid the retainer in cash from my motorcycle fund. Made it clear I wanted full custody, half the house value, and I wanted to make sure Ryan couldn't weasel out of child support once paternity was officially established. The lawyer, this sharp woman named Patricia, laid it out for me. In this state, you have a claim for fraud and intentional infliction of emotional distress. We can also pursue Ryan for child support since he's the biological father. The fact that you've been raising Lily under false pretenses actually works in your favor for custody. What about Katie? Patricia smiled, but it wasn't friendly. She's in a very difficult position. She's the one who perpetrated the fraud. She knew Ryan was the father and allowed you to act as father for 15 years. That's going to cost her in court, both financially and in terms of custody. Music to my ears. I waited until everything was in place. Lawyer retained, evidence compiled, divorce papers ready to file. Then I picked a Saturday morning when I knew we'd be alone. Lily was at a friend's house for a sleepover. Katie was sitting at the kitchen table going through coupons, planning next week's grocery run like she'd done for 15 years. I sat down across from her and slid a folder across the table. "What's this?" she asked, opening it. Genetic test results showing Ryan is Lily's biological father. Financial records showing you've been taking payments from him for 15 years. Phone records showing daily contact between you two. Take your time. There's a lot to read. And the color drained from her face so fast I thought she might pass out. Her hands started shaking, rustling the papers. "How did you?" she whispered. "Doesn't matter how I found out. What matters is that you've been lying to me for 16 years. You got pregnant with my brother's kid and let me believe she was mine." She started crying immediately. The ugly kind, mascara running, hyperventilating. "It was one mistake. One night. I was confused about what I wanted and I made a terrible choice. One night that resulted in 15 years of lies. I chose you," she sobbed. "I chose you over him. I wanted to build a life with you. Ryan was he was exciting and dangerous and I got caught up in it for one night. But you were the one I wanted to marry. You were stable and kind and everything I needed. And the fact that you got pregnant?" She fell apart, full breakdown, sliding out of her chair onto the floor, hugging her knees and rocking. I didn't know at first. By the time I figured out the timing might be wrong, we were already engaged. I couldn't lose you. I couldn't start over. And when Ryan found out, he said he'd stay quiet if I just let things be. He said there was no point in destroying 3 lives over a mistake that couldn't be undone. So you both decided to let me raise his kid without telling me. You coordinated this lie for 15 years. You took his money. You consulted him about major parenting decisions before consulting me. You made sure he stayed involved in her life while I remained completely ignorant. It wasn't like that. I convinced myself it was probably yours anyway. The timing was close enough. And when Lily was born and everyone said she looked like your baby pictures, I let myself believe it. I loved you. I loved our life. I didn't want to ruin everything over one mistake. That phrase made something in me snap. One mistake? You keep saying that like you accidentally spilled coffee. You deliberately deceived me about the most important relationship in my life. You took money from him for years to keep quiet. You let me bond with a child thinking she was mine. You didn't make one mistake. You made 15 years of deliberate choices to lie to my face every single day. She looked up at me with these desperate eyes. "What are you going to do?" "I'm divorcing you. I'm pursuing full custody of Lily, because regardless of biology, I'm her dad, and you're an unfit mother who prioritized yourself over your family. I'm going after Ryan for every penny of child support I can get, because he owes 15 years of support, and I'm making sure everyone knows exactly what both of you did. You can't take Lily from me. Please, anything but that. Watch me. I've got 15 years of evidence showing I've been her primary parent. I've got financial records showing you and Ryan conspired to defraud me. No judge is going to give custody to a woman who lied about paternity for 15 years. I stood up to leave, and she grabbed my leg, actually wrapped her arms around my knee like some kind of desperate movie scene. "Don't ruin everything we have. We can work through this. I'll do anything. Please don't destroy our family over this." I looked down at her and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just this cold clarity. "You destroyed our family 16 years ago when you got pregnant with my brother's kid and decided lying was easier than telling the truth. I'm just cleaning up the mess you made," pulled my leg free, grabbed my keys, and walked out. Her screaming followed me to the truck. Something about how I was cruel for abandoning her when she needed me. How I'd regret this. How Lily would hate me for tearing the family apart. Like I'm the one who lied for 15 years. I drove straight to my parents' house because I knew I needed to be around people who actually loved me. Dad was in the garage working on his truck. Mom was in the kitchen. When I walked in looking like I'd been hit by a train, Mom immediately knew. "You told her?" "Yeah, she's not taking it well." Dad came in from the garage, wiping his hands on a rag. "How bad?" She tried every excuse in the book, said it was one mistake, that she chose me, that I'm being cruel, literally begged me not to ruin what we have. Mom's face hardened. What you have? What you have is 15 years of lies. That's what I told her. She's still at the house. I left her there crying on the kitchen floor. I'll go back tomorrow to get some clothes and move into a hotel until I figure out next steps. You'll stay here, Dad said. It wasn't a question. Your old room's still set up. You're not paying for a hotel. Spent the rest of the day at their place, watching mindless TV and trying not to think about Katie blowing up my phone. Finally turned it off after the 50th call. Katie called approximately 50 times that day. I ignored all of them. Finally sent one text. Contact me through my lawyer, Patricia Steele at Steele & Associates. Then I blocked her number. Ryan called next. I answered that one because I had things to say. Listen, we need to talk about this like adults, he started, already trying to control the narrative. Adults don't sleep with their brother's girl and then hide the kid for 15 years. I didn't know she was your girl yet. You two weren't official when it happened. And I didn't know Lily was mine until the test results. You think I wanted to find out this way? But you knew there was a chance. You knew the timing was suspicious. And instead of being honest, you paid Katie to keep quiet and played fun uncle while I raised your daughter. Silence on his end. Could practically hear him trying to come up with a defense. The first payment was $15,000, Ryan. 3 months before my wedding. You gave my fiancée 15 grand and told her it was to keep quiet about possibly carrying your kid. That's not a mistake. That's a calculated decision to let your brother raise your daughter without knowing the truth. I thought she'd tell you eventually. I thought once you were married and settled, she'd come clean and we'd all deal with it together. I never meant for it to go this long. But it did go this long. 15 years. And you kept paying her. Kept texting her 27 times a day. Kept weighing in on major parenting decisions like what schools Lily should attend and whether we should have more kids. You were involved in every aspect of raising her while I remained completely ignorant. I had a right to know about my daughter's life. There it was. The entitlement. You had a right? You had a right to be honest from day one. You had a right to tell your brother you got his girlfriend pregnant. You had a right to establish paternity and pay child support legally instead of through secret payments. But you didn't want those rights because they came with responsibilities and consequences. You wanted to be the fun uncle who swooped in with expensive gifts while I handled the actual parenting. That's not fair. You know what's not fair? Finding out at 41 that you've been raising someone else's kid. That every memory you have as a father is tainted by the knowledge that two people you loved were lying to you every single day. More silence. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to establish legal paternity. You're going to start paying child support for the last 15 years plus ongoing support. You're going to sign affidavits for my divorce lawyer, confirming the affair and the payments. And you're going to stay away from me for the rest of your life. I'm still her father, he said quietly. No, you're a sperm donor who paid to keep his mistake quiet. I'm her father. I'm the one who walked the floor when she had colic, changed diapers, taught her to ride a bike, sat through every parent-teacher conference. You were just the guy who showed up at birthdays with expensive gifts to ease your guilty conscience. I want to be in her life. Then you should have been honest 15 years ago. I'm filing for full custody, and I'm going to win. You'll be lucky if you get supervised visitation. He started getting angry then, voice rising, trying to intimidate me like he probably intimidates his sales clients. You can't keep me from my daughter. I have rights. You gave up those rights when you paid Katie to keep quiet. Every payment, every secret conversation, every coordinated lie. That's evidence of fraud. You think a judge is going to reward that with custody or unsupervised visits? You're dreaming. I'll fight this. I'll get my own lawyer. I'll prove I deserve to be in Lily's life. Good luck with that. While you're at it, maybe explain to the judge why you owe $500,000 in back child support. That should go well. Could hear him breathing hard on the other end. Reality setting in. You know what kills me? I said, keeping my voice level. It's not even that you slept with Katie. People make mistakes. It's that you looked me in the eye for 15 years knowing you had a daughter you were hiding. Every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every family barbecue, you watched me be a father to your kid and said nothing. I was protecting the family. You were protecting yourself. There's a difference. I hung up, blocked his number too. About an hour later, my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. Answered it thinking maybe it was about work. This is Ryan's lawyer, Stephen Hendricks. Mr. Ryan has retained me to discuss the situation regarding his daughter, and we'd like to meet with you to work out a reasonable agreement. Already. Guy hadn't wasted time. Tell your client to have his lawyer contact my lawyer. Patricia Steele at Steele and Associates. I'm not discussing anything directly with him or anyone representing him. I think if we could just have a conversation, we could avoid expensive litigation that won't benefit anyone. What would benefit me is Ryan taking responsibility for his actions. That's going to happen through the court system. Have a nice day. Hung up and called Patricia. Told her Ryan had already hired a lawyer and they were trying to negotiate. She laughed. Not a friendly laugh. The kind of laugh lawyers make when they know they have someone dead to rights. Let them try. Every attempt to negotiate is going to be documented. Every offer we refuse shows we're serious. When this goes to trial, the judge will see that we've been consistent from day one. Full accountability, full consequences. No deals. They're going to paint me as vindictive. They can try. But vindictive would be trying to keep him from his daughter out of spite. You're not doing that. You're ensuring he pays child support he owes and establishing appropriate boundaries given the massive breach of trust. That's not vindictive. That's reasonable. Patricia filed the divorce papers on Monday. Katie was served at the dental office where she worked. According to the receptionist who called me later, Katie had a complete breakdown in the middle of the lobby. Had to be sent home early. Good. The petition included claims for fraud, emotional distress, and breach of fiduciary duty. We also filed for full custody of Lily, with Katie getting supervised visitation only. The supporting documents included all the evidence I'd gathered. The payments from Ryan, the phone records, the genetic tests, everything. Ryan was served with a paternity action the same day. Legal demand to establish paternity, pay 15 years of back child support calculated at state guidelines based on his income, plus ongoing support. His pharmaceutical sales job paid about $180,000 a year with bonuses. According to state guidelines, he owed roughly $2,700 a month, times 12 months, times 15 years. Patricia smiled when she handed me the calculation. That's $486,000 in back support, plus interest. And that's before we add in his share of medical expenses, education costs, and extracurricular activities over the years. I whistled. That's gonna hurt. That's the point. We also filed a fraud claim against Ryan for the financial deception. He'd knowingly paid Katie to conceal paternity, which opened him up to civil liability. Patricia was going for another $100,000 in damages for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Within a week, both of them had lawyers. Both lawyers called Patricia trying to negotiate. She shut them down cold. My client isn't interested in mediation. See you in court. This was the part I'd been dreading. How do you tell a 14-year-old girl that her entire life is a lie? I picked her up from her friend's house on Sunday afternoon. Took her to our favorite diner, the one with the really good milkshakes and burgers. Let her order whatever she wanted. We sat in our usual booth by the window. Dad, you're being weird. What's going on? I took a breath. Sweetheart, I need to talk to you about something really important. It's going to be confusing and it's probably going to hurt, but I need you to know that nothing changes how much I love you. Her face went serious. Are you sick? No, nothing like that. But your mom and I are getting divorced. She sat back, processing. Not totally shocked. Kids always know when something's wrong at home. Because of Uncle Ryan? That threw me. What do you mean? I'm not stupid, Dad. I've seen the way Mom looks at him sometimes. And she's always texting him. I figured something was going on. Smart kid. Takes after me. It's more complicated than that. We found out recently that Uncle Ryan is actually your biological father. You're still my daughter in every way that matters, but technically, biologically, he's your dad. Lily stared at me for a long moment. Then, she said something that made me want to cry and punch Ryan in the face simultaneously. So you're not really my dad? I am absolutely your real dad. I've been your dad since the day you were born. I'm the one who's been here for everything. The biology doesn't change that. But it does change it. You're not actually my father. Lily, listen to me. Being a father has nothing to do with DNA. It's about showing up every day. It's about being there when you're sick, when you're scared, when you need help with homework or advice about boys or someone to teach you how to change a tire. I've been all of those things. Ryan just provided the genetic material. She started crying. Not dramatic teenager crying, but this quiet, heartbroken sobbing that destroyed me. Why would they lie about this? Why would Mom do this? Because people make selfish choices sometimes. Your mom made a mistake before we got married, and instead of being honest about it, she decided to hide it. That's on her and Ryan, not on you. Does this mean I have to live with Ryan now? No. You're staying with me. I'm fighting for full custody because you're my daughter, and I'm not letting you go. Your mom will still get to see you, but I'm going to be your primary parent. Good. I don't want to live with her if she's been lying this whole time. We sat there for another hour, talking through everything. She asked questions. I answered honestly. By the end, she seemed to understand that while the situation was messed up, her relationship with me hadn't changed. Dad? Yeah, kiddo? Thanks for still wanting me. That broke me. I reached across the table and grabbed her hand. I'm always going to want you. You're stuck with me. She smiled through tears. Can we still work on the motorcycle together? Absolutely. Actually, I was thinking we could start on a project for you. Find you a bike we can restore together. Her eyes lit up. Really? Really? Something smaller, like an old Yamaha or Suzuki. We'll strip it down, rebuild it, make it perfect. Then when you're old enough to ride, you'll have something you built yourself. Can it be purple? It can be whatever color you want, kid. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Katie's lawyer tried every angle to paint me as vindictive and controlling. Said I was trying to alienate Lily from her mother. Claimed I'd known about the paternity questions for years, and only brought them up now to gain advantage in the divorce. Patricia tore that apart with the evidence. Showed the timeline of when I found out versus when I filed. Presented testimony from my parents confirming they'd only told me 3 months ago. Brought in the genetic test results and Ryan's admission that he was the biological father. Katie tried to claim she'd been coerced by Ryan into keeping quiet. Said he'd threatened to tell everyone she'd trapped me with someone else's kid if she didn't take his money and stay quiet. Her lawyer positioned her as another victim in Ryan's manipulation. Patricia destroyed that narrative with Katie's own text messages. Years of friendly, even flirty conversations with Ryan. Planning meetups while I was at work. Coordinating stories before family events. Taking his money and thanking him for being so generous. These don't look like the messages of a woman being threatened and coerced, Patricia told the judge. These look like the messages of two people maintaining an ongoing deceptive relationship at my client's expense. The judge agreed. Ryan's case went worse for him. He tried to claim he'd only recently found out and wanted to establish a relationship with Lily now. Patricia presented evidence of the payments, the calls, the coordination with Katie, argued that Ryan had knowingly concealed paternity to avoid responsibility. He wasn't trying to protect anyone, Patricia argued. He was trying to protect himself from child support obligations while still maintaining contact with his daughter through the guise of being her uncle. That's calculated fraud, Your Honor. The judge ordered genetic testing to officially establish paternity, then hit Ryan with the full back support calculation, $486,000 plus interest, payable immediately with ongoing support of $2,700 monthly. Ryan's face went white when the judge read the amount. His lawyer tried to argue for a payment plan, but Patricia pushed back hard. My client has been financially supporting his brother's child for 15 years, while Mr. Ryan spent his substantial income on luxury apartments and expensive cars. He can liquidate assets to meet his obligations. Judge agreed. Gave Ryan 60 days to produce the back support or face garnishment of wages and seizure of assets. Katie moved out of our house into a cramped studio apartment above a dry cleaner. The place has one bedroom, stained carpet, and walls so thin you can hear the neighbors arguing. She gets Lily every other weekend, supervised by her parents because I don't trust her judgment anymore. The dental office fired her 2 months after the divorce went public. Apparently having emotional breakdowns between patients isn't great for business. She's working full-time now at a grocery store, stocking shelves on the night shift. Minimum wage, no benefits. Last month her car got repossessed. Couldn't keep up with payments on her income. Now she takes the bus everywhere, including to her supervised visits with Lily. My daughter mentioned Katie showed up 40 minutes late last weekend because she missed her connection. Ryan's situation is even better. The $486,000 back support cleaned him out. Had to liquidate everything. The BMW went first, then his investment portfolio, then he took a loan against his 401k. Still came up $80,000 short, so the court garnished his wages. His pharmaceutical company fired him 3 months after the scandal broke. Something about not representing company values after word got around about what he did. Sales performance had tanked anyway because he was too stressed to function. Now he's working at a competitor making half his old salary. Lives in a studio apartment. Drives a 2007 Corolla with a dent in the door. Runs into people we know sometimes. They tell me he looks about 10 years older than he did last year. The monthly child support payments keep hitting his account like clockwork. $2,700 every month until Lily turns 18. That's 48 more months of watching a quarter of his paycheck disappear. Math works out to another $129,600 he owes me. Best part? I opened a college fund for Lily with every penny of it. That money's going toward her mechanical engineering degree at whatever school she wants. His daughter's going to succeed in spite of him, not because of him. My parents cut Ryan off completely. Changed their will last month. Everything goes to me and Lily now. Ryan's not getting a dime of the family inheritance. Mom ran into him at the grocery store 2 weeks ago. He tried to talk to her, apologize, something. She walked past him like he didn't exist. Dad told me later that Mom cried for an hour when she got home, but she's not changing her position. He made his choice when he lied to you for 15 years, Dad said. We raised him better than that. Thanksgiving was interesting. Ryan wasn't invited. He showed up anyway. Stood on my parents' front porch, ringing the doorbell while we ate dinner inside. Dad finally went out and told him to leave or he'd call the cops. Christmas was the same. He sent presents for Lily that I returned unopened. She didn't want anything from him anyway. Extended family picked sides fast. My uncle got in Ryan's face at my cousin's wedding, told him he was a disgrace to the family name. My aunt blocked his number after he called her crying about how unfair everyone was being. Katie's family isn't speaking to her either. Her parents are humiliated. They supervise those first few visits with Lily out of obligation, but you can see the disappointment on their faces every time. Her dad, Steve, won't look her in the eye. Grace stopped inviting her to Sunday dinners. Katie tried to show up to one of Lily's softball games. I had the coach remove her for violating the custody agreement. She sat in her car in the parking lot crying while Lily hit a double. Didn't even acknowledge her mother was there. 3 months ago, Ryan tried one more play. Showed up at my work with some sob story about wanting to be in Lily's life, how he'd changed, how he'd gotten his life together, and wanted a relationship with his daughter. I was in the loading dock when security called me. Walked out there to find him standing next to his beat-up Corolla, looking like he'd aged 15 years. I know you hate me, he started. I deserve that. But Lily deserves to know her biological father. I'm not asking for custody or anything, just let me see her sometimes. Take her to dinner or something. You're violating the restraining order just being here. There's no restraining order. There will be if you show up again. Stay away from my workplace. Stay away from Lily's school. Stay away from me. You get your court-mandated supervised visitation once a month and that's it. She won't even talk to me during those visits. Just sits there on her phone until the hour's up. That's on you. You had 15 years to be her father. Instead, you paid her mother to pretend I was. I'm trying to make this right. You can't make this right. What you can do is stay in your lane, keep paying child support, and live with your choices. Now get off this property before I have you arrested for trespassing. He tried to say something else, but I walked away. Heard his car start up a minute later and he left. Haven't seen him since. Still gets his monthly supervised visit at a family services center, but Lily told me she just does homework the whole time. Doesn't even look at him. Why bother going if you're not going to talk to him? I asked. Because the court says I have to. But nobody says I have to pretend he's my dad. Katie had a full meltdown at the grocery store last month. Someone recognized her from the scandal, made a comment loud enough for everyone to hear about women who lie about paternity. Katie lost it. Started screaming, threw a jar of pasta sauce that shattered on the floor, had to be escorted out by security. Video went viral on local social media. Lost that job too. Now she's working at a laundromat doing wash and fold services. Makes even less money. She tried to take me back to court to reduce my custody time. Claimed I was alienating Lily from her. Patricia destroyed her in front of the judge with evidence of Katie's instability. The judge actually increased my custody to 90% and reduced Katie's visits to once a month supervised. Your client's behavior demonstrates a pattern of emotional instability that poses a risk to the child's well-being, the judge said. Until she can demonstrate 6 months of stable employment and mental health treatment compliance, visitation will remain extremely limited. Katie started sobbing in court. Her lawyer tried to argue, but the judge wasn't having it. Apparently, throwing pasta sauce at strangers isn't a good look when you're trying to get more custody. The divorce finalized 2 months ago. I got the house, full custody, my entire retirement account, and half of Katie's. Ryan's on the hook for support until Lily's 18. Katie gets one supervised visit per month and has to pay me $400 monthly in child support once she can prove 6 months of stable employment. Lily and I finished her motorcycle. That purple Yamaha SR250 runs perfectly now. Took us 6 months of weekends, but we rebuilt the entire bike from the frame up. She won't be able to ride it for another 2 years when she gets her license, but having it sitting in the garage covered in a tarp makes her smile every time she walks past. She made honor roll last semester, trying out for the school robotics team next month. Talks about wanting to work for a motorcycle company someday, designing engines or suspension systems. My parents bought her a full set of engineering textbooks for her birthday. She's already reading through the physics one, asking me questions about force calculations and material stress. This kid's going places. I picked up a 1972 Ducati 750 Sport for my next project. Rare bike, needs a complete restoration, but I've got the time. Lily's already claimed dibs on helping with the teardown. Ryan sent another letter through his lawyer last week asking for increased visitation. Patricia's response was 3 sentences. No. See you in 4 years when child support obligations end. Don't contact us again. Katie stopped showing up to her monthly visits. 3 no-shows in a row. Judge issued a warrant for her arrest for violating the custody order. She's supposed to turn herself in next week. Heard from Grace that Katie's dating some guy who doesn't know about any of this. Grace accidentally mentioned the situation, and the guy ghosted her immediately. Can't say I'm surprised. What kind of person wants to date someone who committed paternity fraud for 15 years? Lily came to me last week with something she'd been working on. A whole business plan for a custom motorcycle restoration business we could run together when she's older. Had spreadsheets, market research, everything. I figure you've got another 25 years before retirement, she said. That gives us time to build a reputation and client base. Then when I graduate college with my engineering degree, I can handle the technical design work while you manage operations. She'd even calculated startup costs and projected revenue. This 14-year-old kid put together a better business plan than half the companies I've worked with. That's my daughter. Not because of biology, because I raised her to be smart, capable, and forward-thinking. Ryan's DNA didn't do that. Katie's parenting didn't do that. I did that by showing up every day and teaching her how to think critically and plan ahead. 3 months ago, Lily asked if she could legally change her last name. Said she didn't want to share a name with Katie anymore after everything that happened. The paperwork's being processed now. By Christmas, she'll officially have my last name only. Ryan tried to contest it, said it was erasing him from her life. Judge told him he erased himself 15 years ago when he decided to hide her existence. Name change approved. Update: Ryan got fired from his second job. Something about failed background checks when they did their annual review. Word about the paternity fraud made it into industry circles and nobody wants to hire him. Last I heard, he's working retail at an electronics store, making barely above minimum wage at 40 years old with a business degree. The garnishment takes so much of his paycheck that he qualified for food assistance. Katie got arrested for the custody violation. Spent 2 nights in jail before her parents bailed her out. The judge added community service hours and mandatory counseling to her custody requirements. She has to complete both before she's allowed to see Lily again. My parents put their house up for sale. Moving to a retirement community 2 hours away. Told me the town has too many bad memories now. Too many reminders of Ryan's betrayal. Fresh start somewhere new. We had one last family dinner at their place before they listed it. Just me, Lily, Mom, and Dad. Mom made pot roast. Dad told old stories about when I was a kid. Nobody mentioned Ryan or Katie once. It was perfect. Lily starts high school next year. Already got recruited for the advanced robotics team. The coach saw her project portfolio and asked her to join early. She's the only 8th grader they've ever made that offer to. The Ducati restoration is going well. Frames powder-coated, engines torn down and ready for rebuild. Lily's learning Italian motorcycle engineering now. Completely different from Japanese bikes, but she's picking it up fast. Me? I'm exactly where I want to be. Got my house, got my daughter, got my shop full of projects. No drama, no lies, no people using me while pretending to care. Ryan and Katie destroyed their own lives through years of deliberate deception. I just made sure they couldn't rebuild on my back. Fair trade. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.